Dennis, why don't we get started?
Okay. Good afternoon, I'm Dennis Galucki, and welcome to the 399th Imagine Buffalo program and our 20th virtual Imagine lecture hosted by the Buffalo and Erie County Public Library. Thank you so much for joining us today. This program is created by the Center for the Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature, and ImagineLifelongLearning.com. We're going to start with our speakers shortly, but first, a little housekeeping. Everyone watching will be muted during our speakers' presentation, which will last about 15 minutes or so. We'll have time for questions at the end. If you have a question, please type it into the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. This program is being recorded. You'll be able to watch it again later on the library's Facebook and YouTube channels. As a reminder, Life Willing will be here on Zoom at this same link every Tuesday at 12:30 p.m. with a great lineup of local speakers. Now today is the second Tuesday of the month, so our primary theme is architecture and design, while today's secondary theme is Imagine Greater Buffalo as a premier cultural and nature center. Our featured speaker is Brad Hahn. Brad is the Executive Director of Explore Buffalo, a position he has served in since 2013. Explore Buffalo provides a wide variety of tours and educational programs about Buffalo history and architecture. Pre-COVID, in 2019, Explore Buffalo saw more than 25,000 people attend its tours and programs. It's for me a great pleasure to welcome Brad Hahn. Brad?
All right, thank you so much, Dennis, and always a pleasure to be here as part of the Imagine series. So thank you everybody for joining us today, and my pleasure to give you an overview of what's happening with Explore Buffalo, how we're adapting, and how we're continuing to educate people about Buffalo's history, architecture, and neighborhoods. As Dennis said in the introduction, I've been the Executive Director of Explore Buffalo since 2013, and certainly the past year, more than any year, I believe, has been a challenge for our organization, but one that we have overcome thanks to the creativity, the flexibility, and the adaptation of our staff and our volunteers. So I'll tell you a little bit more about that. We are a group that was founded by volunteers in 2013 with the goal of promoting Buffalo's architecture and history and really setting up an organization that would focus on promoting the incredible assets of our community. And it's right there in our mission statement. That's what we're here to do. We are here to educate learners of all ages, from students in kindergarten and K through 12 schools to adults, about Buffalo's history and architecture. And prior to COVID-19 arriving in Buffalo last year, we offered more than 80 different tours and programs with walking tours, bike tours, bus tours, kayakers, and boat tours, and an array of education programs, including our popular speaker programs that typically took place at First Presbyterian Church, where our office is, that you see there on the right. All of this is made possible by our docents and our volunteers. We now have more than 200 total active volunteers, and that includes about 120 trained volunteer docents who lead our tours in the summer weather, in the winter weather, any weather you can imagine. They're out there telling people Buffalo stories. And I'm so proud that over the past 5 years, 4 of those years, the Tourism Volunteer of the Year award presented by Visit Buffalo Niagara has gone to an Explore Buffalo volunteer. Since 2016, every year it has gone to an Explore Buffalo volunteer. They didn't have an award program for that last year. And as Dennis mentioned, in 2019, Explore Buffalo reached a new peak of attendance with more than 25,000 people taking a tour with Explore Buffalo. So since the organization was founded, that is more than 100,000 people who have taken a tour with Explore Buffalo and have learned more about Buffalo's rich history and architecture. And we've been recognized as Best of Western New York in Buffalo Spree, as well as in national media across the country, in Canada and beyond, for the work that we do, again, promoting Buffalo, its history, its architecture to local residents, as well as to people coming from across the country and around the world. So things were going really great up until about March 13th of 2020, and then we needed to change, and we needed to change fast to continue to do our work. And that is what we did starting in the middle of March of last year. And what we did very quickly, and again, thanks to the creativity of our volunteers and our staff, we switched and we had to cancel our planned tours for March and all the way through June. And we started offering an array of online programs. So we started offering a series of online programs led by our weekly email newsletter, which used to offer a simply update on the tours that we were offering in a particular week. And that became a vehicle for us to educate people about a building of the week, about different elements of local history and architecture, guess that building feature. And we continue to do that every week, every Monday. That email goes out, and now about 13,000 people receive that email every Monday morning. So if you are not getting it, would like to receive that email newsletter, it's free, and you can sign up on our website. That's explorebuffalo.org. Right there on the homepage, there's a tab, a link to sign up for that email newsletter. We also teamed up with Buffalo Rising to offer a series of landmark building profiles, and you can find those all archived on Buffalo Rising. We're continuing to work with them to offer different profiles on neighborhoods and Buffalo landmarks. Again, that's written by Explore Buffalo volunteers and some of our staff as well. On social media, you can also follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, and learn more through some of the features that we offer on social media as well. And all these different ways to connect with people about Buffalo's history and architecture. Last spring, we also, when we weren't offering tours, prepared a series of free walking routes. So based on some of our popular tours, we developed walking routes for people to get outside, go for a walk, learn a little bit about Buffalo history while being able to be socially distant, do it on their own. And people really enjoyed doing these. We were especially happy to see students going out and doing these with their families so that they could continue to do some of these programs. Again, normally in the spring, a big thing for us is doing school tours where we see up to 5,000 K through 12 students taking a tour with us. That, of course, didn't happen in the spring of 2020, so we were encouraged to see a lot of families doing this on their own with these walking routes that we prepared. And those walking routes are still available on our website, still free to download and enjoy. We also offer an array of programs exclusively for our Explorer Pass members, including exclusive emails with more walking routes exclusively for Explorer Pass members and other features for them. So that's a perk of being a member with the Explorer Pass at Explore Buffalo. We also switched, and again, we have a long-running history of offering a variety of speaker programs in person, and we started to offer those online on Zoom. So we signed up, got our Zoom account, got our Zoom subscription, and quickly started offering a variety of topics on local history, and architecture in the spring, took a break in the summer of 2020, and then resumed them in the fall and are continuing to offer online programs via Zoom. And what we've learned through these programs is that we're connecting with people who would never be able to come to an in-person program because they don't live in Buffalo. Our most recent fall series, we had about 22% of the people who attended virtually our fall history series. They were not from Buffalo, were not from Western New York. They were from as far away as Seattle, Washington. They were tuning in to these programs. And again, we wouldn't be able to connect with them if we were simply doing this in person at First Pres. So that's something that we have learned and really grown to appreciate through this past year. Now, of course, this has been a big challenge for our organization financially as well. So how did this all shake out in that direction? So prior to COVID in 2019, 75% of our revenue came from our tours, the admission that people pay for tours, from our memberships, from the Explore Passes, and from events, including our Winter Gala and our popular home tours, where we get up to 1,000 people to tour private homes in places like Lincoln Parkway and Richmond Avenue. Needless to say, that picture changed a lot in 2020. The tour revenue went from 38% of our budget to 8% of our revenue in 2020. And overall, that earned revenue from events and from tours and from memberships, that went from 75% to 34%. And we were fortunate that we were able to continue these programs thanks to generous funding from sponsors, from donors, and from grants that we received. So grant revenue increased to be 42% of our budget. That included federal money through the Paycheck Protection Program that really helped to sustain our organization so we could continue to offer these programs. Donations also dramatically increased, so we are so thankful to everybody who has donated to support Explore Buffalo over the past year. And these are a few of the major funders that have contributed to Explore Buffalo, to providing grants for our organization in the past year. So big thank you to these organizations, to these funders for their support. Now we did, in July of 2020, start to resume our tours, and they looked a little bit different, but we were able to continue to educate people through our walking tours about neighborhoods, about their architecture and their history. So we started to limit our tours to a maximum of 10 people, requiring advanced reservations for the first time for all of our walking tours. And people really adapted, they understood, and it went very smoothly with that change in our walking tour procedure. Right now, continuing for the present, all of our tours are outdoor only. There's no going inside of any buildings on our tours, and we are requiring masks for all the participants and our docents as well for these tours. And the tours have gone very well. People are appreciative, they've enjoyed them, they felt comfortable being, again, outdoors, small group of people, room to spread out, be distant, and again, everybody's wearing a mask, so people do feel comfortable and safe taking these tours, coming back on the tours, and with limited other opportunities for social events and things like that, we saw quite a few people coming back even once a week. They would come and take a different tour with us, because last summer we were offering 40 different tours of different neighborhoods, different villages, different parts of Western New York. And we are continuing to offer a limited selection of tours during the winter. Right now we're running about 4 or 5 tours per week, and they had been going really well. We had some relatively mild winter weather. This week, it's looking a little bit chilly, so we don't think we're going to see many people coming out for a tour this week, but hopefully that mild winter weather will return soon. And then in late April, we'll resume a full selection of walking tours for our spring and summer season, which means we'll be offering somewhere between 150 and 200 tours per month. That's what we were doing last summer in July, August, and September. So we offer an array of tours, including downtown architecture tours, neighborhood walking tours, village tours from Williamsville to East Aurora, Hamburg, up to Lockport, crime tours about Buffalo's crime and scandals of the past, including the mob history here in Buffalo, as well as an array of bike tours. At this point, we're uncertain about some of the other tours that we have done in the past and whether those will be able to come back in 2021 or might have to wait until 2022. Those include things like bus tours. We're still uncertain about when those might be feasible to bring those back. So stay tuned and watch our website and our email newsletters. every year we roll out a series of new tours, and these tours are prepared by Explore Buffalo's volunteer docents, and they work usually in groups of 2, 3, or 4 docents to do the research and put together a new tour on a new topic or a new neighborhood. And so this is the list of some of the new tours that we're offering in 2021, and we'll continue to add to this list. So we're adding new tours both in the city of Buffalo and neighborhoods, as well as outside the city of Buffalo, places like Lackawanna and Tonawanda. And we want to also thank the generous presenting sponsor of our tours, that is M&T Bank. Right now, we are preparing for our winter speaker series that will kick off actually on Thursday evening with an array of different presentations. All of this, again, is being done via Zoom. Each presentation is at 7 o'clock. These are free for our Explorer Pass members, or $10. And again, you can go to our website, learn more, and sign up for any of the winter speaker series programs. Now, last year was also a challenging year for many community organizations as we really started to realize and grapple with how we would respond to many of the protests that occurred throughout our community and across the country, and really start to think more deeply about our place in the community, what we can do, what our place is to support our entire community. And so starting in June, we put out a statement, as did many community organizations. The full statement is on Explore Buffalo's website, and we focused on how we can do more to tell a more complete story of Buffalo's history. And that is something that we are working towards. We know we have a lot more to do, and that is something that we are working on this winter and will continue to work on in the months and years ahead to, again, tell a more complete story for all of the people who take tours with Explore Buffalo, so that the students who come on Explore Buffalo tours in 2nd grade get that complete story of Buffalo history. And we're doing this in a variety of ways, both internally and externally. And what we're really focusing on right now is some of this internal education. So we've offered a reading and discussion series on James Baldwin's books for our volunteers. We are doing a community stories program that's taking place, and I'll tell a little bit more about that shortly, as well as updating our docent training class to include, again, more diverse stories from our community in our docent training class. We've also added more diversity to our board of directors, and externally we are creating new tours, we are revising some of our existing tours, and that weekly email newsletter is including much more diverse content as well, again, to follow up on that statement we made last summer. Next week, actually, we are offering our Community Stories Week, and this is an education program for Explore Buffalo's volunteers. We are bringing in 4 different community organizations to offer programs for our volunteers to, again, provide more education for our volunteers so that they are better educated about the history of the Native American community in Buffalo, Native American Community Services, about the African American history in Buffalo with the Michigan Street Corridor, with the Hispanic heritage in Buffalo, with our partners at the Hispanic Heritage Council, and with the newest immigrants coming into Buffalo, New Americans, and their stories. And we're working with Journey's End Refugee Services to incorporate that piece into this Community Stories Week. So we hope that through this week of programs, our volunteers will learn more about these different organizations and what they do, and these different elements of our local history, so that they can start to be woven into the fabric of our tours and our education programs. And this Community Stories Week is supported by the Center for Study of Art, Architecture, History, and Nature. So thank you to Dennis and his organization for their support of Community Stories Week. And we, again, know that this is just the beginning for our organization, and we expect that there will be much more that we'll be doing in the year and years ahead to, again, make our tours and programs truly inclusive of our diverse community. And as I mentioned before, we are rolling out a series of new tours on both the west side and east side. We hope that you'll join us this coming summer for some of these tours on the west side and east side. So again, stay tuned to that email newsletter for more information about these new tours. So how you can support Explore Buffalo in the year ahead. And one of the best things to do is take a tour with us. And if you really enjoy those tours, you can even volunteer. You can become a docent with Explore Buffalo. We have a docent training class that begins in March. You have about 2 weeks now left to apply for that docent training class. The deadline is 2 weeks from today. It's February 23rd. You can also, of course, donate. You can become a partner of Explore Buffalo. And we also really appreciate the feedback from our community about what we can do better. So please do share your feedback from our tours, from our programs with us. If you do take a tour, we appreciate a tour review on TripAdvisor. So again, we really appreciate the feedback from our community. So again, thank you for joining this afternoon, and looking forward to seeing you on tours and at other education programs. And to learn more about everything I've talked about today, you can head to our website, and that is explorebuffalo.org. Dennis, you said I had 15 minutes, and I think I got 15 minutes exactly. So I'm happy to take any questions that anybody has.
Well, let's find out from Melissa, who may have asked some questions in the chat box. Melissa?
Yes, Dennis, the first question is from David. What, if anything, is going on with the Buffalo Architecture Center? Seems to have been dormant since Mr. Lipsey's passing away a few years back.
So the Buffalo Architecture Center, which was envisioned as part of the Richardson Olmsted campus on Forest Avenue, is a separate organization. I have not heard of any forthcoming plans or anything like that. Again, I don't have any direct involvement in that organization directly, so I don't have any other information, but I have not heard any updates from them recently about plans for the Buffalo Architecture Center.
That was the only question in the chat, but of course people can submit their questions now if they'd like.
Melissa, just as a follow-up, we've invited folks from there in the past, but in the last year or so, they have not been available to speak. So I too am in the dark as to what's going on. I hope we'll keep trying though, and get an update on that if possible. Brad, that Chuck Lacusa is so much involved with the educational program. He and I worked together with your predecessor group called Buffalo Tours. It was our attempt to bring different groups together to offer tours, and that goes back. It was modeled after Chicago's program. Would you, having a sense of other programs in the country, see yourself still trying to model something after Chicago or maybe other cities?
Sure, and we know the people at the Chicago Architecture Center, formerly Chicago Architecture Foundation, and they're very supportive of us, and we have a regular back and forth about what they're doing and what we're doing. That certainly continued over the past year. And what's really extraordinary is how within a very short period of time, Buffalo, through Explore Buffalo, has been able to establish one of the largest tour organizations of its kind in the country. Most cities do not have an organization like Explore Buffalo, do not have the variety, the depth of a tour experience that you can get through Explore Buffalo. So there are a few other organizations similar. Chicago is certainly one of them, and they are far larger than Explore Buffalo. In 2019, we had about 25,000 people take a tour. They had, I believe, 600,000 or more. So they're orders of magnitude larger than Explore Buffalo. But other organizations, for example, Boston by Foot, over in Boston, we now have usually about the same number of people per year as Boston by Foot, and they've been operating their tours for over 40 years now in Boston. So, and that is really due to the support from the community here in Western New York, the people who are taking our tours. That is still a majority of people who take our tours are people from Western New York. So that is what has propelled Explore Buffalo. That is so the people who continue to take our tours, and especially last year, we saw practically no tourists coming to Buffalo, coming to take a tour, but it was people from Western New York wanting to learn more about our tours. That's really what sustained us over the past year.
Wow, that's hats off to your comparison with a 40-year long organization versus a 7-year or thereabouts, and a much larger geographic area that the Boston area would have as a radius. So
Dennis,
really,
we do have
that's
multiple
off to you.
questions.
Go ahead, Melissa.
The first question is, are there still opportunities to volunteer other than serving as a docent?
Yes, we do have opportunities to volunteer in addition to being a docent. We have what are called tour assistants who are on tours and generally assist the docent with making things run smoothly. We don't have any training programs for them set up at this moment, but those will be coming. So if anybody's interested, they can go to our website, fill out one of the forms for a general volunteer or tour assistant, and then we will notify people when those opportunities are scheduled at some point in 2021. So we're just rolling out the docent training for new docents in this coming spring, and then we will be rolling out some of those other training opportunities later this year.
Next question, is there a tour that seems to be the most popular?
It varies year to year, and some of the tours that we see as some of our most popular include the tour over at Silo City of the grain elevators along the Buffalo River. That's been one of our most popular tours almost every year. Other tours that are definitely amongst our most attended tours include the mafia tours, the mob history tours that we do in Allentown, usually on Friday evenings. It's an entertaining tour. It's a fun time. People really enjoy the mafia history, and it's really surprising history for many people about Buffalo. Some of the other most popular tours include Delaware Avenue's mansions, the historic mansions along Delaware Avenue. And last year, our bike tours were very popular, sold out almost every time that we offered them. And those took place all across the city.
Another question, is the docent training course online or in person?
The docent training class that we are offering this spring is online for the first 6 weeks, starting in March. So it will be 6 weeks of training via Zoom, and then starting in April, it will switch to being an outdoor class where you'll be in small groups to actually walk through the tour, because there is, in order to learn to give a tour, some of it has to be in person. So we've structured the class so the first part of the class, when the weather isn't that great, is, again, you can do it all from home, all online. And then the second part of the class, once the weather hopefully is a little bit more temperate, will be outdoors again in small groups to actually walk through the tour that people are learning.
And then do you have any tours or anything for kids, younger people, kids and maybe teenagers or something like that?
Sure. So we have, as I mentioned in the past, in a normal year, we're offering a variety of tours for schools, and that's our main outreach to younger students, to kids, is to offer tours to typically about 5,000 K through 12 students, and then college students as well. This year, of course, we have been limited in being able to do that. We're hopeful that schools will be able to resume doing some kind of tours with us in 2021. It might not be until the fall of this year, but we certainly encourage families to come on our tours, whether it's a regular walking tour. We do see that happening frequently. We don't have a specific walking tour designed just for families or just for kids, but we welcome families to bring their kids on our regular tours.
And another question, do you have any involvement or insight to the LaSalle Park Reimagine design?
I do not have any direct involvement in the LaSalle Park redesign. I think from what I've seen in the news, it's going to be a terrific project to invest in that park. But certainly I think that might be something for a future Imagine series presentation, would be perhaps to bring somebody in there and tell the full story of what they're planning for that park. But it's certainly going to be a big asset on the waterfront, a big boost for Buffalo's waterfront to have that park.
That's a
Those
good
are
idea.
all the questions we have right now.
Good, that's a good idea. Quick follow-up though on the bicycle gathering. How many of those did you have you done? How regular are they? Do you see yourself broadening out to cover all parts of the 42 square miles of Buffalo, or is it focused on just certain areas?
The bike tours that we have been doing, last summer, we were offering them usually about 2 or 3 times a week. And same as the walking tours, limited to 10 people per tour, reservations required, and so on. We had about 8 different bike tour routes that we covered. They were all within the city of Buffalo. So one was along Scajacqueta Creek, one was I think one was along Humboldt Parkway. So all different parts of the city. We are looking at adding some more of those. And again, that process is driven by our volunteer docents who create the new tours. And we are looking to, like I said, they were very popular last year. So we hope to be adding more of them this coming year. And we encourage people to join us on a bike tour.
And just one last question. In 2019, you had a very successful Doors Open program. It modeled Pittsburgh and maybe other cities. Obviously, last year was a problem in 2020, but how does 2021 look?
So Doors Open, which is a event that takes place in many other cities in the United States, as well as Canada and other countries, is a day, in some cities 2 days, of free public access to significant buildings, architecturally, historically, and so forth. In 2019, we had about 40 buildings participate in Doors Open Buffalo, attended by about 4,000 people, and we had 400 plus volunteers who made that event possible. Of course, that simply wasn't in the cards for happening in 2020, logistically, just from a whole host of reasons. It simply wasn't going to happen last year, so we did have to cancel our plans for that. We are looking and optimistic that we will be able to do a Doors Open event in fall of 2021. Plans for that are very preliminary, very tentative at this point, and certainly a lot can change between now and then. So we're looking forward to it. Again, stay tuned to that email newsletter and Explore Buffalo's social media to see what we're planning, what we're looking forward to for the months ahead as we get into summer and then eventually fall of 2021.
Stay tuned.
Brad, just a quick comment that I want to pass along. Someone suggested they are a big fan of Buffalo bike tours, and perhaps you could look into a partnership with them.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks for the suggestion.
Is there an organization named with that, Melissa?
Just Buffalo Bike Tours. I believe that's the name of the organization.
I didn't know if it was Go Bike or someone like that. Good. We'll look into them perhaps as a future speaker. We will wrap this up. Brad, that was wonderful. You'll see next week's speaker kind of connects with this, with yourself and what we did this past summer. So folks, thank you for joining us today. Join us next week, same time, same Zoom link, when we will hear from Michelle Augusto, the art supervisor from the Buffalo Public Schools. And she'll be speaking about a program that was called Be Enriched Field Trip Project. It was an attempt, since Buffalo Public Schools weren't going to be taking tours to the various cultural organizations, to bring visually the cultural organizations into the schools. So we'll hear about that. Paul Maurer agency was involved. Tune in and we'll continue our attempts to explore Buffalo and see it like it's never been seen before. I'm Dennis Galucki. Be well and have a good afternoon.